What defines a high-quality, out-of-school time arts program? And what does it take to engage urban, low-income youth in these programs when there are so many other options? The Wallace Foundation set out to answer both questions. They explore the issues in depth with experts, including urban youth and their families, researchers, academics, and the staffs of some of the nation's best arts programs. The research identified 10 principles for effective, high-quality programs. This video highlights how some of those principles are part of Youth Speak's formula for success.
I was born to make it, never felt this way before.
I like being able to provide the same opportunities that I've been given to other people. Like, that was what I really wanted to do, because coming to Youth Speaks and writing has really changed my life, as cliche as that sounds.
We don't exist just to teach poetry to kids. There's lots of organizations that do poetry with kids. We exist for a variety of reasons, and poetry and writing and performance is core to the work we do. And we couldn't do what we do without those art forms, but we don't exist just to teach the kids the arts forms. It's that intersection of arts education, youth development, civic engagement, and artistic presentation. That's the magic of Youth Speaks. I think in the work that Youth Speaks does, and that Youth Speaks has spread, it's about a safe space in which young people can speak their mind and be taken seriously and engage with their peers who are doing the same.
The initial thing is seeing them as human beings. Seeing them for who they really are and taking the time to listen to them.
Shunned by red, white, and blue, condemned to the precipice, stripped of my wings back.
But this one kid went up there, his name was Brian, and he did this poem about his mom. And you ever been so cold about something that you feel like you're beyond tears? You know, and I heard him just talk about his mom, and it just hit something in me. I got goosebumps. I was like, oh, that's how I've been feeling. He articulated how I was feeling. And I just knew that's what I want to do. How he made me feel, I want to give that to somebody else.
We're not forcing them to take a leap to some new space. We're actually starting the safe space exactly where they're sitting.
Arts education is creating that space for that moment of creative impact to happen. It's not arts and crafts. It's not only teaching skills of how do you write a poem. All that stuff is important, but the arts education space to be effective in the Youth Speaks world is we are creating a space, and we don't call our arts educators teachers ever. We don't call them teaching artists. We call them poet mentors. And when they're trained, we tell them, don't use the word teaching. You're a facilitator. You are facilitating this space in which young people can write, in which young people can think, in which young people can engage.
The sky is the limit. Go and live out your dreams. You're in it to win it.
When you're dealing with high-level arts practice, you need high-level arts practitioners. You're not going to hire somebody to teach the swimming class who can't save the kid when they're drowning.
First thing I say on day one is, I'm going to treat you guys as though you're professional writers. You're not writing students to me. You're as good a writer as I've ever met, and my goal, and this is something we always tell our poet mentors, your goal is to believe that every single young person in that room, regardless of how long they've been writing, can be and should be a better writer than you.
My most recent poet mentor, honestly, I'd never met him before. He wasn't a staff member around here, and I'd heard that he was just really intense and kind of ran his workshop like a boot camp. And I was really scared at first, but it was a kind of experience that I needed to grow as a writer. That's what poet mentors bring. They bring the support, they bring the safe space, they bring the experience, and they bring just all that in one package.
The poet mentors, the people running the workshops, they're not these distant people. They're not like teachers. They're not talking at you. They're having a conversation with you, and they're stepping back and letting you speak.
The most important work we do is the workshops, and it's in those workshop spaces that young people are able to really open up and be who they are, and question and challenge and be challenged. And it's a free space. The young people refer to it as, they find freedom, they find their voice. The questioning is really big for us. We live on this idea that the question is more powerful than the answer.
We try to encourage them to live up to their own standard and raise beyond their own standard and not always see themselves in competition with others. which is kind of a tricky thing. It's actually one of the tricky paradoxes of what we do.
The Poetry Slam has been a huge draw. And in fact, part of the reason that we've been able to build this national network of organizations is because of the draw of Poetry Slams. It brings a lot of young people to the table. Because, somebody is crowned a winner at the end of it, and some young people really thrive on that.
Dear America, 18,000 marriages, they could not stop America. 44 states to go, such a long, long way to go.
And this year I was in the Grand Slam finals and I made it to the team for Brave New Voices. So I'll be competing this summer against different teams from different cities across the United States and from different countries as well. It's kind of unbelievable to make a team and be competing at this level. It's like, what? I'm actually like a poet. I can actually like be one of these amazing people that I keep seeing.
Artistic presentation is really important to Youth Speaks because we don't ever want to be seen as a high school talent show or just as an arts and crafts program. Like, we want to treat and present these young writers and poets and performers as world-class artists. So we get them into world-class venues, we get world-class audiences, and we treat them as though they're as talented and important artists as anywhere in the world.
Because we want every kid that walks in our door to feel like they could get on that stage, that they could be that kid.
Some people say, why would you do a competition with kids around poetry? It's like, hey, the publishing world is much more competitive. At least in this opportunity, every kid gets heard. So we have two youth advisory committees. One is called Spokes. Spokes was one of the first things I put together when the organization started. It wasn't called that, but right away I knew, as a former teacher, that to get teenagers involved in a program, teenagers had to be involved in the building of the program. Their goal is to double or triple in size. But then they're also, of course, charged with challenging us, making sure as an organization we're staying true to the youth development principles and that if there's anything that they think isn't jiving right, they gotta let us know. And they help us think through ideas of programs and what's working and what's not working, and how can they be a part of making them better. Many Spokes members have moved on to permanent staff positions, either as teaching artists or actually as administrative staff. And we try and give them as many professional skills as possible. And those are sort of office skills, but also teaching skills, leadership skills, facilitating a forum skill, public forums, et cetera.
When I would come to the open mics, I would just feel really safe and it's just a really loving and warm atmosphere. So I wanted to get more involved, so I applied to the Youth Advisory Board.
Well, we're the youth representatives of Youth Speaks in schools, and so I started a club. So I'm bringing my friends through to the club to start writing and just start stimulate the dialogue that we should be having that we can't have in certain spaces.
For us, art is a vehicle, it's not the outcome. Art is a process, the outcome is a whole person.
I'm right here getting down, working hard. It's paying off now, 'cause the sky is the limit. Go and live out your dreams. You're in it to win it, so hold on to your team. Get down, get dirty, rise up, don't be